Welcome to Manhwa Recaps, spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. Huge shout out and special thanks to the channel members. The manhwa starts with a story that's all too familiar to everybody watching this. One day, the gates opened, and the world was getting destroyed. The ferocious and vicious monsters came from a world that was then called the Demon Realm. Then some chosen people awoke as hunters, and they are the beings who receive special abilities from mana. Thanks to them, mankind was finally able to fight back. Time passed by, and the city was eventually rebuilt. Although there are still many problems, at least some can enjoy a peaceful life. However, that was not always the case, as there were way too few hunters that awakened naturally, causing meaningless deaths as the monsters continued to attack relentlessly. So they decided to create artificial beings to counter this and actually have a resistance against the monsters. The ingredients for the experiment are inmates on death row, or animal carcasses, also minerals from within the gate, and monster cells. They splice every one of these things together, and the effort made by mankind to survive, which ended up turning into mass production of chimera hunters. This can be said as the ideal combination of the scientific and hunter community, dramatically lowering the hunter mortality rate and saving countless lives. Just like that, the world seemed to gradually become its old self. It jumps to an illegal chimera laboratory later in the night. Some people inside the lab say that they just have to check on this one, and then they can go home. They are on the 18th floor for the high-rank chimera storage room. They're mentioning how the arms of number 17 are rotten. One of them gets close, and the other tells him not to, but the guy says it's fine since his brain is broken, and it can't move without an order. But they see that its right arm is totally rotten, which means that it must be a side effect of the experiment. But they wonder why it's so scary, as they can't even see what's ahead. They decide to just leave it, since it's going to be scrapped anyways, and the other guy agrees as they walk away, leaving number 17 alone in his cage. At the director's office, they inform him that 17 is hopeless, its body is almost completely destroyed, and if it were the other ones, it would have been dead. The director asks how long he can live, and they say at most a month. The other guy agrees, and he says if that's the case, it needs to join the gate sealing operation and have it guard the back when the hunters are returning. 17 looks up at the small little moonlight he has in his cell, and immediately jumps to him, brawling in the demon realm, specifically the Rocky Mountain zone. A bird is flying in for an attack, and 17 starts to release some thread from the tip of his nails, creating a net that instantly cuts the monster flying in it into chunks. As they start to fall to the floor, a giant dune worm appears. 17 crouches down and leaps up into the air above it and slices through it, also turning it into meat chunks. 17 then roars, opening his 7 jaws, creating a giant blue ball of electricity that shoots out towards the monster horde, eliminating everything in front of him with a single attack. We see that it even went through the entire cliff behind him as well, and the hunters inside the gate with him say this is amazing, as he erased all of those monsters in one move, as expected of an S-class chimera hunter. They then say that the gate shows no sign of closing, and it's their 3rd day here already. One of the other hunters says not to worry, as no matter how many monsters come at them, as long as they have that S-class chimera they can handle it. One of the guys grabs his sword, saying that they just have to take care of all the small fries that manage to get past 17. The gate turns red as it starts to warp, and a man and one of the hunters alert them that the gate is closing. They say it's finally time, and the leader tells everyone that it's time to get out and head home. 17 punches something as we see him having a one-on-one brawl with a giant monster. One of the women hunters asks if they're not bringing it home, and the leader says that they were told not to bring him with, and she says that she thought he was expensive. The leader says that they said it was going to die soon anyway. She says that she's feeling sorry for it, if it weren't for that guy, there would have been a lot of casualties this time. He tells her not to sympathize with it, as he thinks he's technically a non-living thing, and that the only thing he can do is follow orders. As 17 is still brawling the monsters, the leader says that in the end, they're nothing but monsters. We hear the lab director tell 17 that the mission is to secure the return of the hunters, as he's still defending the gate from all the monsters swarming them, and he is constantly fighting them off. The director asks 17 if he understands, but the monster he kills this time starts to release a type of acidic goo, and we see 17 no longer has his arms. The director says that there's nothing else but that, and once the mission is completed, he doesn't even have to come back. 17 says return, secure, complete, but realizing that he's melting, he says return is not allowed, and decides to just sit there and succumb to his wounds. That day, The mission result of Chimera Hunter 17, who met its end, is as followed. Not a single hunter died from humanity's side, but he subjugated a total of 1,823 monsters. As 17 started to die, his erased past played in his head. He was once a normal human who got kidnapped at the age of 9. His memory started playing, starting with his oldest one. Only since his brain was broken, he couldn't understand the exact meaning of the scenes, but he looked at them, at the memories of his past life. 79 years ago, he was dropped off at the District 13 orphanage. Then 9 years later, the director says that he hit his friend with a rock because he made fun of him, asking how many times it's been. He then closed the door, kicking him out, saying that he can't take care of him anymore. 17 was laying in the snow, and some people pulled up in a van, saying that children come rolling at them when they go to the slums, and they take him with them, saying that he must be a new experiment subject. They ask what number he is, and this is how he became number 17. They are instructed to make it so that he can't run away. One of the surgeons says to record it, and they inject number 17 with S+ class silkworm cells. They decide to see how he reacts to it. Turns out there were no side effects, but he gained the special abilities. Even though his human external appearance and personality are maintained, it seems like he possesses a unique constitution. They decide to keep administering him with anything until there's a reaction. They continue their experiments. 6 years go by of them constantly experimenting on him. As we see him now, fighting off against a monster, protecting civilians and another hunter. There are hornet types, and they immediately get zapped, and he deletes them as if they were never there to begin with. A civilian thanks him while she holds her daughter, and 17's partner apologizes that a kid has to carry all the burden, but 17 says it's fine. 5 years later, after defeating more monsters, he wonders why he's here and what he was even doing. The director asks why he's stopping, and if he's confused with his memories, and he laughs, saying finally his side effects are showing. 17 wonders what he's talking about. Another 5 years go by, and it turns out they have injected him with 500 different substances over the last 15 years straight. He's at least an S-class hunter, but in reality, his abilities are unmeasurable, and he is their laboratory's best masterpiece. 34 years go by. A woman is handing him a chicken breast, asking if he's nice. He immediately gobbles it down, which scares her, and she asks if everybody saw that, as she told them he would eat. The civilians are grossed out, saying that kids shouldn't be watching this. And then finally, 3 days ago, he completed his mission and ended up succumbing to his injuries and dying. Amidst the battlefield, we see a piece of his spine laying on the floor. It starts to move before it floats up into the air. His entire spine begins to restructure itself as his body begins reforming. Out of the 527 different monster cells, one of them created this spark that allowed him to stand back, and he wonders what's going on, and how he's a human again. As it turns out, he had revived. He looks down at his hands and says, judging from the fact that the monster cells are still active, he can't say that he is completely human. It feels like quite some time has passed since the experiment, and seeing how the lab hasn't come to retrieve him, he has been discarded. Even the experiment number on his wrist is gone, and this means that he doesn't have to run from the lab anymore. The reason his body turned out like this must be because of the fire-type monster's power. They say that if the core isn't destroyed, you can survive up to 3 times, but they also said that human cells can't fuse with phoenix cells. What's certain to him now is that his body has reverted to his prime. Maybe it's because all the side effects of the experiments are gone, but he feels better than ever. Ever since the side effects began, he always felt like there was a fog in his head. Even the spells they engraved to prevent betrayal have all disappeared. If his life as number 17 is truly over, maybe now he can finally live as a human. 17 was just a number they arbitrarily assigned him in the lab. He goes to tell us his real name, but we get a flashback to the orphanage director saying he has a shitty personality, and at the very least, trying to live helping others. He needs to live trying to help others, even if it's a conscious effort. In that sense, he needs to live to save thousands of people. We learn that his full name is Chun Dao-un. Dao-un asks how a stray cat is meant to save anybody, and it's time for him to get going. He looks up at the sky, thinking about revenge. He says that revenge needs a target in front of him, and honestly, it feels so long ago now that the fire for revenge has just burned like it used to. There's no way he can live as a human right away anyways, and if he keeps living, he'll run into them eventually, and he'll think about it when that time comes. He then looks down at his junk, realizing that he has no clothes, and he says that it's settled, and it's time for him to try living like a human, and that first, he has to go get some clothes, and he doesn't even remember the last time he wore some as he starts walking somewhere. He makes it to a river, wondering what he should make clothes out of. Since he found some water, he says that he wants to look around for a bit close by. He then spots something, as there is a dead monster below him, and he wonders if there was a territory dispute or something, and it looks like it was pretty strong, but there are no obvious major injuries. Besides a purple goo from its mouth, so it seems like it died from poison. He says this is good, as he happened to need leather, and he starts to shapeshift his hand into a knife. He says that he'll need a blade to skin it, and he says, thinking about what he learned at the lab, he first needs to cut the belly vertically and insert the dissection scissors through the armpit, and he decides to do it like he has been taught. As soon as he cuts into it, he realizes something, as it starts to shoot out a purple miasma, and it flies past him. He says that it most definitely died from poison as it starts to fumigate the entire area. Of course, it has no effect on him, and he says that it just smells like ass, and then he needs to continue skinning it. After doing so, he says that it wasn't bad for a first try, and next, he needs to clean off its skin. He starts dipping it in the water, getting a lot of the poison out of it, and he says that he thought it would be soft when he saw it, but maybe because it's a monster's hide, that it's way too stiff, and it hasn't even been treated yet. He then gets an idea, and starts whacking the absolute shit out of it, saying that this is how you're supposed to tan a hide. He says this is probably good enough, as he keeps whacking it, and he makes it a lot softer now. He says that the size is also okay, and for some reason, from the tip of the bird's head, a fire starts, and it begins burning. Dao-un is busy ripping the hide into shape, as he punches his hand through it, making an armhole. He does it for both sides, and then ties a vine around his stomach, saying that this is pretty okay, as it turns out it's a perfect fit. He then looks inside of it, saying that the poison is not fully out, and he's too lazy to get rid of it, so he decides to wear it. The bird starts cawing at him, and he says that he thought that shit was dead. The bird starts shaking his head no, and he wonders why it kind of seems like it understood what he was feeling. Even though it had post-mortem stiffness, the fact that it's alive means that this must also be the immortal type. If it were the old him, he would have killed it without hesitation, because he was a hunter. The opponent is already too weak to pose any threat, so there's no need to do that. He tells the bird that it's lucky, but so is he. This is his second life, and if so they should live it well, and if fate allows it, they'll meet again elsewhere, and he walks away from it. He heads into a cave, saying that now the clothing problem is solved, he needs to find a house. The ground begins cracking, as a giant centipede-type monster emerges from underneath it to attack Dao-un, and he says that it's way too dark inside this cave. He cuts off the centipede's head and says that he's going to pass and go find somewhere else. He heads up a mountaintop into a snowy area, and after defeating a couple yetis he says getting food will be difficult here. Then he heads into another forest, finding some mushrooms, saying that this smells like ass. He finds a human cave, even some volcanoes, and he passes on every one of them, until he stumbles across somewhere he likes, as he's looking down from a clifftop. He says that the scenery here is really nice, and he didn't think that he would ever find nature beautiful, and that he wants to look around a bit more, as he leaps off the cliff onto the ground below. He says the water is clear, and there are tons of fish. If he catches one at a time and grills it on the spot, it'll also feel like camping. Since there's a natural fish farm, maybe building a house and living nearby wouldn't be so bad. There are also some flowers, and the air is clear, and this might just be the best spot. And he's going to go ahead and plant himself some roots and make a house here. A gate starts opening back to where I believe he defeated all those monsters, and something shoots out of the portal, and we see it's actually a little robot, asking if this place is really the demon realm. He says first he needs a plot of land to build on. He swings his hand after creating some threads from it, swinging towards the trees, cutting a whole ton of them down. This is deforestation at its finest. He says the land is good enough, and he wants to gather the good quality trees separately. He says that he's probably got enough logs, but there's still too many stumps. He then whips all the stumps out of the ground using the thread once more, and even flattens a giant chunk of land, saying that this is nice and there's plenty of sunlight. He just moves his hands and feet however he felt like as he was building this. But he did understand that he had to drive in a post at each corner. He says that this is what you call free will, but he finds it very fun, saying maybe it's only because it's his first home. He then lays down planks for the floor. And for the walls, there are no nails, so he's going to use slime from the snail-type monsters instead. And once it hardens, it'll be as solid as stone. But he doesn't know if it'll be waterproof. He then says it's time for the finishing touches as he starts laying down a bunch of threads. And he says that even most monsters won't be able to come near now as he's looking at his ugly-ass house. POV, your first house in Minecraft. He says it's quite cozy, I guess as long as he likes it. There's also something that he can tell is missing, but he doesn't know exactly what it is. And he wonders what does a house where people usually live have. In the lab, they showed him what a typical home looked like before the gate opened. In the educational video he saw at the lab, they usually grow something in the yard. He says maybe he's missing a dog, but he can't raise one here. He wonders if he should make a vegetable garden, but doesn't even know what's growable in the demon realm. He realizes something, saying that there's a snowy mountain nearby, and he can probably plant some mandragoras. He heads to the mountains, and we learn that the mandragora's habitat is near the peak of the snowy mountain, where demonic energy is thickest. He says it sure is snowing a lot, fitting for a snowy mountain. It snowed a lot the day he was kidnapped by the lab too. Back then he was so cold, he thought being kidnapped was better, and that there are good things about him becoming a chimera, and he doesn't have to worry about dying from cold or hunger. Judging from the amount of demonic energy, he must be almost there. The snow is also starting to let up, and he says that he's glad he found the mandragoras, and the trip wasn't wasted. Mandragoras are extremely stress sensitive, like a sunfish-type monster. They can die from even the slightest environmental changes. He says that if he's going to relocate one, a younger, more adaptable one would be better. He'll start by removing its roots. He says he probably should have covered his ears, as they're going to scream, but when he pulls it out, he instead gets a cute little potato-looking thing in his hands. He wonders why it's so docile. Seeing that it's cute, he decides to try another one. And again, it's the same thing. And then another one. As they start babbling, he says that these guys are talking in their sleep, and that the so-called mandragora scream happens when artificially grown by humans. In the human world with low demonic energy, they're under extreme stress. Then if you forcibly pull them out, they scream and die instantly. No scream is understandable since it's the demon realm, but why aren't they resisting at this point, and they should be trying to run. And maybe they recognize him as one of them, as he does have mandragora cells transplanted in his body after all. He says this is good, as less stress the better. And if they grow well, he'll ask for a few side roots and make tea later. And he says that he heard forcibly picking the fruit makes them extremely poisonous, so he'll have to ask them nicely. He hears some fighting, saying that there are some hunters nearby. He doesn't know why they'd come all the way to this dangerous snowy mountain, but he wants to go check out the gate and head over there. We see some hunters fighting, as they were used as bait and ditched by their comrades. As they're getting chased by some bunnies with some actual Resident Evil mouths. They leap at the hunters and put up a barrier, but while they manage to block the first few hits, the guy starts tearing up, saying it's over as they start swarming him, and his barrier starts to crack. He says that he should have kept doing odd jobs, wondering why he volunteered to find the chimera, and he screams, asking for help. We see a bright light in the sky. As on cue, Dao-un lands nearby, sending out a giant shockwave. The bunnies stop their hunt and wonder what that is, as the hunters spot a person. What they see is Dao-un. Dao-un sees the snow bunny and says that it's been a while, and he starts releasing some serious killing intent, making them all afraid. They start running away, even running over each other, and the hunters say there's no way, as B-rank monsters fled upon seeing him. He even melts some of the snow with his landing, as you see it dripping from a nearby plant, and they thank him for saving them. They introduce themselves as Oh Shonju and Kim Tai-hoon. They go to ask for his name, and Dao-un tells them. They've never heard of his name before, wondering what his outfit is, saying that he might be a reclusive hunter. Dao-un asks why they're here, saying that just looking at them, they seem like a D rank, and he should know how dangerous the mountain is. They say it's because of money. There was a request to capture a chimera alive, and the pay was very good. Dao-un asks about the chimera, saying there's no way it's him, and they say that a lab test subject escaped, and it was a mechanical creature that jumped into a gate while fleeing. Dao-un says if it were a mechanical creature, it's definitely not him, and that he'll just grab a gate crystal and head back. He asks where their gear is, saying surely they didn't come to the demon realm empty-handed, asking where the gate crystals are. Shonju tells him that his teammates, rather, those assholes, took everything and ran, and that was their plan from the beginning. He should have realized when the B rank hunter let them join. Dao-un says that those bastards must be the ones with the gate crystal then, and Tai-hoon asks if he has any plans to return, as they're reaching their limits soon. He surely knows what happens when you get contaminated by demonic energy. The amount of time a hunter can endure in the demon realm varies greatly by awakening rank. If they don't return to the human world in time to purify the energy, most die. Of course, Dao-un isn't affected. They start pleading with him to take them back to the human world, and one of them even mentioned their wife being pregnant. Dao-un uses his senses, finding it, and before they finish their sentence, he leaves by dashing through the air, even shattering the ground beneath him. They call out, asking where he's going, begging that he take them with, as we see the robot walk into the forest. It gets to a cliff, saying that this place seemed dangerous, and we see the B rank hunters saying now is their time to capture it, and they should all rush it at once. The robot says that if it's dangerous, it needs to eliminate them. As the hunters all start leaping towards it, it starts to darken its color and prepare for combat. Dao-un arrives, but says that he's too late. As there's just backpacks and blood on the floor, he says the hunters must have all run away. They left behind their gear as well, and there's a child's footprints mixed with beast tracks. He wonders if it kept changing form while fighting. He recalls Tai-hoon saying that one of the test subjects escaped, and that it was a mechanical life form. If it's made of liquid metal, it can freely change shape, but the material was rare, so they made it small, about the size of a dog or a kid. Dao-un says for it to overwhelm 5B rank hunter alone, it's not bad. It then jumps to Tai-hoon, yelling, telling Shonju to get it together. Shonju says that he's done for, as his body has been fully corrupted by miasma. Tai-hoon says that he shouldn't say that, as his kids do next month. Shonju starts spitting up blood, saying that Tai-hoon should tell his wife he's sorry if he doesn't make it back. Tai-hoon begins crying, telling him to hold in there, as there's still hope for a miracle. That miracle is none other than Dao-un, as he starts to arrive. Tai-hoon hears the footsteps and turns, surprised, and is super happy to see him, as he's even carrying their luggage too. He immediately runs over, getting on his knees, saying that he's begging him to save them. Dao-un says there's no gate stones left, and Tai-hoon tells him that he knows that in this lawless demon territory, once it's used it's gone for good. That's why he gives him these checks, as it's their only way to survive, and he just needs one gate stone. If they don't return now, they'll die for sure. It's 2,000,001, and while he doesn't need it right now, he might need it later in the human realm. He takes it and gives them both, each a stone. Tai-hoon thanks him, with a very deep bow, while opening up the portal. He tells Shonju that if they hurry, they can make it. Dao-un says that, from what he can recall, gate stones cost 200,000 won. Tai-hoon says that was ages ago, bro, and this shit is worth 1,000,000 now. Wondering why he doesn't know this. Dao-un says that he feels like he just got too much money in return, and puts his hand on Shonju's shoulder, saying that he'll give the change back like this. As he starts to infuse him with his aura, they're confused, but Tai-hoon can tell that he's infusing mana into him, telling him to wait. Infusing mana is something even A rank hunters avoid. If the manas clash and tangle, their mana holes could rupture, and they both die. Tai-hoon thinks they're both doomed, but Shonju's immediately cleansed and looks very healthy, saying that the miasma is purified. He starts getting excited, hugging him, saying they're actually going to live. Tai-hoon's freaking out, saying there's no way that he purified miasma by infusing mana. It's impossible unless your mana is overwhelmingly powerful, and he wonders who the hell he is. Dao-un heads back to his house, and says it looks like there are no intruders, and that was an unexpected profit, making the trip pretty satisfying. He then hears little grunts and looks down, seeing the mandragoras are awake now. He says maybe the long trip bored them out, as their leaves are drooping, and he wants to get them planted. He gets a nice little plot of land, and puts all 3 of the cuties in there, and they look very unhappy. He says that they must not like being relocated, or maybe they're hungry from traveling without soil, and then he starts to infuse them with some mana, saying that usually they love this. They get excited immediately. Damn, these things are adorable. He says they're looking better now, and says there's no way they're even monsters at this point. He can also feel the energy behind him, saying that it must be the one the hunters were tracking, and he wonders what a mechanical life form would want with him, but he says that if it wants something, it'll show up itself. He shoves the checks into the wall, and starts digging through their luggage, saying that he wants to sort through what they brought. We see a portable burner and cookware, 8 more gate stones, some spare clothes that need to be washed, and some sleeping bags. He says they came well prepared, which is good for him. He sees a packet of ramen, saying the last time he had this was back in the orphanage, and it's perfect, because he's hungry, and it's time to cook it up. As he goes to eyeball the amount of water he needs for the ramen, we see some bubbles in the pond as 2 fish jump out towards him. He says people usually add stuff to ramen, and that fish would be a pretty good add, as he literally flicks it to death. He also goes to grab some eggs, saying that this will be a good substitute as well, and he has no green onions, but some herbs from this tree might also be fine. He throws them all into the pot, saying that the ingredients are ready, and it's time to head back. As he does, the little robot steps out, and is obviously hungry, saying that man is cooking. How is he hungry though? Dao-un turns on the burner, saying that there's no note on the packet for when to add the fish, so he guesses he'll just boil it all together. This is definitely not going to mix well, and the smell starts spreading, and the mandragoras get a whiff of it before saying this smells like ass. The smell continues to travel throughout the forest until it reaches the robot. He says that he wants some, wondering what to do. He says that he saw this at the lab, as he transforms his body into a dog, saying that humans like dogs, and they help the pitiful. He starts walking over, whining, showing that his leg is all hurt, and Dao-un recognizes it instantly as the mechanical life form. He says it's been following him for a while, and it must be acting as a dog to lower his guard, and faking injury for sympathy. He looks like it's still learning, wondering how it escaped the lab and made it to the demon realm in the first place with it being so young. He says that it's done, asking the robot if it would like to try some, and it immediately gets excited. It walks over and starts drooling, looking at his delicious food. Gordon Ramsay would be super proud. The robot is already chowing down, and Dao-un starts as well. Robot looks a bit concerned, and Dao-un is eating it, saying that this is the taste. As he recalls how he used to eat it with the other kids in the orphanage when he was a child, and how good it was then, he says that he thinks it did taste something like this. In that moment, the memory of the 7-year-old him eating ramen returned, and he thought it was really good, but in fact it was hot ass, and nostalgia just won over his senses. Afterwards, he told the robot that if it's done, it's time to go, as he needs to clean. The robot starts limping with the other arm now, and Dao-un calls it out on it, and immediately tries to fix it. Kind of cute. Dao-un says that the dishes are done now, he wants to try doing some laundry. He doesn't have particularly good memory with pollen, and he can't keep wearing leather clothes forever, as he's not a caveman. But he has to beat the pollen off it, so he needs to be careful. And he slowly swings down with the stick to beat the pollen off of the clothes, but instead, it explodes it in the ground beneath it, instantly deleting it. He says it's okay, and he still has one shot left, looking at his last piece of clothing. He then glances to his side, saying that the robot this time turned into a rock. He wonders why it keeps hanging around, after eating ramen and washing the dishes, and also when looking at flowers that resemble forsythias. The mechanical creature just kept approaching while changing shape, but it didn't do anything. A bee landed on it and immediately freaked out and ran away, revealing its form, because it hates bees. He says the mental age of this creature is likely under 5, and its speech is super awkward, as it tries to clap to kill the bee, but we see the bee actually fly out. Dao-un says that this is a pretty common side effect in young chimeras, who had forcibly had knowledge implanted into them. Dao-un pretends that he doesn't notice, and says that these flowers sure are pretty. He finally manages to do the laundry, saying that it's harder than he thought, but at least he got it done, and it looks a bit small for him to wear though. Now he should maybe set it aside for now, and go check on the mandragoras. The robot thinks about something, and after Dao-un leaves, he walks over, grabbing the shirt off of the drying string, and says that the man has clothes on, so he will also put some on too. It puts on Dao-un's shirt, saying that this outfit is officially his now. Then starts to change shape, as the hair grows, turning into a little human kid. The robot says a human form now is truly perfect. Back to Dao-un, he wonders why the mandragoras keep acting strange. He says the leaves are wilting as well, and the roots seem a little dry. It's strange that he pulled out all the weeds when he made the field, and he wonders what this is. As he starts pulling the roots out, he says there's all sorts of stuff underground, and he should have tilled it more thoroughly, and he almost killed the mandragoras by mistake. He says that he needs to make a proper garden, and maybe one the size of his house should be enough. The robot approaches him, and we see it was actually a little girl all along, and she calls out to Dao-un. Dao-un wonders if it's finally trying to talk to him, and he greets her. She asks if that is his house, and Dao-un says it is. She then gets excited, asking if he's a native of this place, and he wonders if he should mess with her a bit, and says that's right, asking what tribe she's from. She starts to freeze up thinking about it, and says that she came from across the waterfall from really far away, so far he couldn't even find it. He says that if it's by the waterfall, it might be the coconut tribe. She says that's correct, and that she is indeed from the coconut tribe, and nods her head. Dao-un then says the outfit is his, he thinks, and she says that in her tribe, find her keepers, so it's hers now. Dao-un says she can have it, and she gets excited. He then asks what brings her here from the coconut tribe, and she says that she was kicked out, so she has a favor to ask, and she bows, saying that she wants to live here too, asking if he'll let her. He asks why she wants to live here, and she says that there are no bugs, and there's a house, so she thinks it's safe, so she wants to stay here. Dao-un says that she just really wants a place to rest, and agrees, but says that she'll have to pull her own weight. She says okay, and just asks for him to give any job. He says that he needs to tilt the field, asking if she could do that, and they need to build a new home for the mandragoras. He hands her the stick, and she says to trust her, as she is strong, and she's good at using strength, as she starts destroying the ground, doing exactly what she needs to do. Dao-un says that she's not even trying to hide her identity, or maybe she just doesn't know how normal kids act since she only lived in the lab. He then asks what her name is, and tells her his. She thinks about it, and she says that she doesn't have one, so she'll make a new one, like that pretty flower she saw last time. She says that her name is Kim Nari. She picked this name because it sounds very similar to the flower name in Korean. So much so, Dao-un calls her the flower name instead, and she corrects him. A little later, she finishes tilting the field, and Dao-un says that was quick, and Dao-un even put a stone fence around the field. The mandragoras are super excited, and Dao-un says they really like it, and he should have done it before. Nari seems to be thinking about something, and he wonders what she's so curious about, and she starts bawling her eyes out, and he asks her what's wrong. She says that seeing the mandragoras reminded her of her friends. Dao-un is confused because there's no way she had any friends in the lab. She then hears some ominous sounds, and it can smell blood from not very far. Dao-un tells her not to be too shocked, as that's just monsters hunting each other, and it's common around here. She says that before she came here, she saw a chick-like monster, and that a group must be attacking it now. Dao-un starts to sense where it is, saying that it must be that way, and Nari starts grabbing her head, saying that it looks like it's in pain. Dao-un tells her it probably is, and she says that it's getting bitten. He says that it's going to get eaten soon, as this is the demon realm. Then he asks if she's trying to say that she wants to go save that monster, and we see her head still in pain because she can't bring herself to do it. Dao-un says this is the effects of brainwashing, and he decides to help her out, but wants to make it not sound like a command. He says that if she helps it, it might survive, wondering if she wants to go check it out. She immediately gets excited and runs off, saying that she'll be back. We see what's attacking the chick are some weird ugly bugs, and the poor guy's on the ground. Nari flies in, kicking its head off, saying to stop bullying it, and that she's going to save it. We get a flashback to the lab, and some of the other experiments. They are talking about how she ranked first again in the match, and at this rate, they'll be used in high-risk experiments. We see her holding onto a plushie, and then the plushie is all destroyed. All the other kids jump her shit, saying that they want to live too, and if only she wasn't around. Nari says that she only did what she was told, and that it hurts, asking for them to stop. She dodges one of the antennas, and rears back her fist, telling the monsters to stop more, and that bullying others is wrong, as she comes in absolutely deleting this thing, turning it into a green goo. Dao-un is feeding the mandragoras, and asks if it's tasty. She then returns, and he says that was quick, but she starts bawling, asking what she needs to do, as the little chick won't snap out of it. Dao-un says that she first needs to calm down, but then recognizes the monster, saying that he feels like he's seen it before. Dao-eun walks over, saying that he'll take a look for her. He starts to put mana at his fingertips and stretches it out, putting it on the bird's head, saying that it does not look like there are any fatal injuries. Each monster's demonic energy contains its unique history. It's shrunk in size, and its color is lightened, but as expected, he was right. It's that immortal type monster from before. He wonders why it's shrunk like this, and if its regeneration method is different from his. She asks if it's really dying, and he says that it's just malnourished. She asks what he means by malnourished, and he says that it couldn't get food because it got smaller. He says he's given it some mana, so it'll recover on its own if they leave it alone. She looks down at the bird, recalling the plushie that she had before. The kids ruined it, and she says that if they leave it like this, it'll die, and it looks all limp like a rice cake. She wants to know if she can raise it and take care of it, and she'll train it properly, also she'll feed it too, asking if that's okay. He says that it might grow really big when it matures, and she says that she'll only feed it a little. He tells her to do what she wishes. She gets super excited, asking if he's serious. He says yes, and maybe it'll be okay if they let it loose in the yard to guard the mandragoras. As the chick slowly opens his eyes, it spots Dao-eun, and he says that this is the one who took his hide back then. He then feels Nari biting his head and wonders what the hell is going on, but she realizes he's awake now and raises him up, saying that he looks like he regained his consciousness, and it's making the same sound as a pigeon, which is goo goo. He just wonders why there's a girl in the demon realm, and she squeezes him, saying that he's finally awake. He says to let go, but Dao-eun's just confused because he can understand what the little guy is saying. A little later, we see him bandaged up, and she says the treatment is complete, and that she has decided on its name. She says that it keeps making the goo goo sounds like a pigeon, so she wants to name it Goo, asking what he thinks about it, and Dao-eun says that's not bad. Goo asks why they are naming him whatever they want, since he already has a name of his own. She then drowns him in water, saying that since it's crying, it might be thirsty, and she says that it got all soggy, asking what to do. Goo is just begging for no more waterboard torture, saying he'll reveal all government secrets. Dao-eun can tell that she doesn't understand Goo, and says that they should stop giving it water. She says it must be hungry, and she'll go find some food. She runs off, and Dao-eun says that he's got more small stuff, and that he wants to make a storage shelf to keep things organized. He starts to cut the log in half, saying that size-wise he doesn't need to be very big, as he uses his Swiss Army hand to change into a blade and starts cutting it, but it breaks instead of cutting neatly, and he wonders what's the problem as he made it the same way as the table and the chairs. Goo watches this, saying that the wood color is different. The one in front of him is originally softwood. Dao-eun asks if different woods have different hardnesses, and Goo asks if he really didn't know that. Dao-eun then asks what color is the strongest, and Goo says obviously red colored. He then realizes that he's understanding him, and Dao-eun starts to look for the red colored ones. Goo says there's no way, but just in case, he wants to test it. He begins using telepathy to try to get inside of Dao-eun's mind, which he immediately regrets because of course, when he was number 17, he was him, and he says no matter how much he looks, he doesn't see red-colored wood, and asks if it could maybe be that Goo's habitat is somewhere else. Goo is just confused how his telepathy was blocked, but more importantly, how Dao-eun can hear him. Dao-eun says rather than hearing it, it's like human words are popping up into his head, but more than that, isn't it weirder that a monster understands human speech? Goo wonders how to explain it, but Dao-eun says it's probably one of those rare intelligence-type monsters born from an extremely low probability, and he's heard about them, but it's his first time seeing one. Dao-eun says they've met before. Goo says that he wanted to meet him again soon, and Dao-eun asks why. He says whatever the reason was, he saved him, and if they meet again, he wanted to help him at least once. Dao-eun says that the poison must have been removed from the fur, that's why he was able to revive, and says that's perfect, asking if he could help him now. Goo asks how, but realizes what he wants, and says that he'll guide him to where the red trees grow. It jumps to a giant fire, as Nari is screaming, saying that she doesn't want to go back to the lab and begins crying, since it's way too hot. She falls face first onto the ground after the explosion happens overhead, and she says that the lab came to fetch her, but she wonders what to do, as she hates fire, she's terrified of it. We see a man looking at a GPS tracking thing, saying that it's true that a mechanical creature can change form at will, and attacking a kid doesn't feel great, but still, that's part of the mission, and that she should try to understand that his whole life is on the line here. As he readies his attack, he shoots out another fireball, this time in the shape of a hand towards her, saying that he's going to end it here. Instead, it gets dispersed, and Dao-eun says he just wanted to finish building the cabinet quickly and eat. Gu says he'll tell him where the trees are later, as right now, they need to save the kid first. Dao-eun agrees, and he says that he can tell she's terrified of fire, as she's having a panic attack. He says first, he wants to put the fire out. Gu says he agrees, and that for bullying a child, this guy's a scumbag. The guy asks him what group he's affiliated with, saying that it looks like he's aiming for the mechanical creature too, and he's running out of time. So to get lost. Dao-eun tells him that he talks too damn much, which irritates him instantly, and the guy calls him cocky, asking why he's talking shit, and shoots forward 2 flame-like whips towards Dao-eun. Dao-eun raises his finger slightly and begins channeling his mana at the tip of it, before blasting the cliff behind the guy, absolutely destroying it. Before the guy can even realize what happened, he looks up and gets crushed by the debris. Dao-eun asks Nari how she is, and she says that she's okay now, and that he swiped the fire away, and he says that when she has a fear, she just needs to knock it out. Dao-eun then grabs the guy's hair and says it's time to wake him up, but he instead pulls off his hair, saying that if he faints again, but realizing that he just pulled off the hair, he's confused, and looks back down, wondering what the hell is up with this bald guy. Nari starts laughing, saying that a bald guy is hilarious, and she says he's no longer scary. Dao-eun seems to be having different thoughts, because he says that he's not someone she should be losing to. Gu says that this should explain what's going on. Telepathy is the ability to look into and upon his memories, and it can also be transmitted to others. We see a scientist laughing in a lab and with an evil smile walks over to Nari when she was still just a piece of goo, saying that seeing as how she's avoiding him, it looks like she's grown a proper ego. Stretching his hands out towards her, telling her not to be afraid of it as it's just a durability test. She instinctively puts up a spiky barrier, but we see Dao-eun patting her head lightly, and he says that the trauma won't disappear so easily, but he guesses this is a step forward. Dao-eun asks what she should do with the bald guy, and Gus over there tapping his head. Nari says she has a good idea. They tie him to a rock and hang him over a waterfall, and she says that if he gets wet, the fire goes out, so now he's not scary anymore. He says this is not why he came to the demon realm, and Nari just says he's mean. Dao-eun says that they can't make fun of someone else's appearance like that, and that she might get better sooner than he thought. He gets into the water and Gu asks what he's doing. He says he wants to make ramen, and Nari starts hyping it up. Dao-eun asks if the coconut tribe eats fish ramen too, then she continues hype beasting it. The bald guy says that he is definitely an A+ rank hunter, but he might even be more than that. He's probably one of those secluded hunters who operate in the shadows, but to think that he'd eat ramen with a person tied up like this, even for the demon realm, this is too much. We see Nari actually catching some fish, and Dao-eun says they're only going to use one so she can let the rest go. She says that she understands it, but he needs to hurry up and start cooking. The bald guy watches this, saying that if they boil that, it's going to taste really fishy, but he wonders why he's adding so much water, and he thinks that they have no idea what ramen actually is. Nari starts running, saying that she's so excited for it, and the bald guy yells, telling them all to wait. He says that if they let him down, he'll try cooking it for them. He says to others it might just be ramen, but to him right now, his whole life depends on this. He said ramen is best in its purest form, so he'll go with the standard method, and it's not like he knows anything about cooking anyways. The amount of water is entrusted to his sixth sense, and first he'll add the noodles and water for less than 5 minutes. He starts counting his heart rate, saying that once he gets to 270, it'll be the best time to take it out. He then does so and pulls the noodles out, instantly putting them into the bowl. He's exposing the noodles to the air, so it makes them springy and chewy, and it would have been perfect if he had some kimchi, but this is the demon realm and he did his best. Now he has no more regrets. We learn that his name is Nam Kisuk. He asks if they would like to take a taste, and Nari instantly tells Dao-eun that it's different from his. He says that she's right. He says that they'll try some, and as he starts eating it, all three of them instantly realize that this is the taste of purity and that Kisuk cooked. She tells Dao-eun that this is gas, and Gu asks if humans eat this every day. Dao-eun says he was surprised himself and that they should just finish eating for now. After they're all full and on the verge of a food coma, Kisuk asks if it was to his liking. Dao-eun tells him to speak his mind, as it was too delicious to have for free, so if there's anything he wants, he'll grant it. Kisuk says if that's the case and gets on his knees, saying that he would like for him to teach him and he wants to become strong just like him. Dao-eun asks what he means by teaching, and Kisuk says that he is the strongest hunter he's ever met. Seeing as how he's even built a house, it seems he's settled down here and he's good at cooking and other things as well, and even has a license. He says that his father runs a small chicken restaurant, so he's great at frying chicken too. It might be a hassle going back and forth through the gate for supplies, but he'll be a shuttle. Of course, he'll pay whatever lesson fee he wants, as he wants to learn from him and get promoted to A rank. Dao-eun asks why he attacked Nari and if it was for the bounty. He asks if he means a mechanical creature, and Dao-eun tells him to be quiet, as her concept is that she's from the coconut tribe, so he's just going along with it. He says he understood and that's for personal reasons, so it's difficult to say, but he doesn't need anything like a bounty. As long as he can pass the hunter promotion test, he doesn't care about anything else. Dao-eun says that's the case, then to stand up, as he had a delicious meal, so it's the least he can do and he wants to have a sparring match. Ki-suk thanks him. Nari says she would rather spar with him instead. Dao-eun asks if she's sure and she says that he already said it, when something scary appears to knock it unconscious and she wants to try putting out his fire. Ki-suk says that it seems like she's already forgotten, that it's Dao-eun who's strong, not that he's weak. Dao-eun points over at a rock, asking Ki-suk if he can break it. Ki-suk says that's black ironstone and it's a stone said to be several times harder than diamond. Dao-eun asks if that means he can't do it, and Ki-suk says that you need to at least be an A rank to do it. It then gets shattered by Nari's attack, sending the debris flying, and he instantly realizes he made a mistake, as she tells him to hurry up and fight already. We learn that Ki-suk was actually once a promising hunter. He first awakened his abilities at around 8 years old, and considering that the average awakening age for others is in their late teens, he was a very special case. Eventually, we see him heading to a B rank exam. He charges up an attack, and knocks out his opponent. Adding hard work to his talent, he grew at a very fast rate, reaching the rank of B+ before he even turned 20, and explosive fame followed. His days were nothing short of perfect, aside from one thing. One day, he was in the shower, and he noticed that he had lumps of hair falling out. Everything came all too early. At the age when others began to awaken, his hair started to fall out. In his early 20s, the crown of his head became barren, and by his mid-20s, he even developed a receding M-shaped hairline. I feel bad for bro. He visited every pharmacy and clinic he could find, but none of it was fruitful at all. Even if they gave him a hair transplant, it would all fall out. With his handsome looks and natural talent, once he shined brighter than anybody, he quickly lost his light, besides on his head. His growth as a hunter also completely stagnated, and we see he fell into a deep depression. He's watching the news as they were joined by somebody of the research institute where Nari is from. They were talking about how liquid metal is an extremely rare substance even in the demon realm, and it accidentally got spilled all over his head. He took off his hat, and his hair ended up growing back completely. This is the guy who was scaring Nari, by the way. Ki-suk asked what kind of bullshit that is for a 90-year-old man to have a full set of hair after being bald for so many years. This means that he was developing a hair loss cure, and he laughs it off saying no, he just once again realized what a world of mystery the demon realm is. As an awakening for the sake of humanity, he will use all the remaining liquid metal to create a mechanical life form, and challenge for Korea's first prize. This pissed Ki-suk off, and he said that he needs to make that damn hair loss cure now, and that would be the greatest thing for humanity. A few days later, he saw that the life form had escaped into the demonic realm, and since there are no laws there, it was finders keepers, and he decided that no matter what he would find it, and pour that shit all over his head. That is how he got in here. It wasn't over a bounty, just like he said. We see him waking back up, and saying that Nari is way too strong. Dao-eun says that he couldn't even land a single clean hit, and if he keeps this up he is not going to let him be his gopher. Ki-suk pleads, saying that he'll do better, and just to watch him. Dao-eun finishes making a storage cabinet, saying that the redwood really is sturdy. Gu tells him that it'll last a long time, and Dao-eun says that at least Ki-suk has some grit. Ki-suk says that he did nothing but get beat up all day, but he feels so liberated, and maybe it's because he finally took off his wig. He makes a spear out of fire, and tells her he wants to fight once more. Gu says his ability to control fire is not bad, but to think he can't even be a kid. Dao-eun says it's not like she is just any kid, though. Ki-suk charges back in and she says come at me unk. He swings down, breaking the ground, and we see her disperse into liquid metal. He recognizes it, saying that this is called liquefaction. As she starts to reform in the air, she kicks him straight in the face, sending him flying into the air, landing in a cliff. She says she's not scared of fire anymore and it's all thanks to him. Ki-suk laughs, asking if this is the limit of a B rank and saying that he doesn't have any more skills to use but he has to get up. Where else would he get a chance to spar like this? He's a man who doesn't know how to give up, and he tells her one more time before his nose begins bleeding. Dao-eun asks how long he's been in the demon realm and he says it's been 9 days. Dao-un says he needs to go back, and with his rank, if he stays here any longer he'll die from the demonic energy. He says that he supposes he should. Dao-un says that still he seems to have the potential for a rank, so he should keep working hard. Ki-suk says that he's been failing the exam for 6 years straight. They say that if you can't pass the same exam rank for over 3 years, you're a lost cause. Dao-un says that he thinks he can do it, and that his mana hole has not fully developed yet, so he shouldn't give up. Ki-suk seems touched by these words, and Dao-un says when he gets back to make sure to properly purify the demonic energy. Ki-suk thanks him, saying that he will do his best to watch over him. Dao-un says that he'll raise him to an A rank, but not a hunter, and a worker instead. As he's going to head out, he asks if there's anything else they need, saying it looks like they're out of ramen. Nari gets excited, and so does Gu. Dao-un says that's all for now, and Ki-suk says that he'll go buy some for them. Nari tells him to have a safe trip, and he says that she should keep up the training as he'll win next time, and tells Dao-un if he's seen his wig by chance. Dao-un says he can't say that he has, and Gu stares at him suspiciously, and he says that he'll be heading back for now, wondering where his wig went. Gu asks if it's really okay like this, and Dao-un asks what he means. Gu says that it's dangerous if he betrays them, and he might bring other hunters back with him. Dao-un asks what he thinks, as he's the one who can read other people's memories. Gu says that his desire to become stronger is genuine, at least that and the fact that he's bald is true, and he likes that he's sincere. Dao-un says that this will be fun to watch. Nari asks if he can understand what Gu is saying, and Dao-un says that he can. He ends up going back inside, and says that with the storage cabinet the house is much tidier. She says that it's still too dark, and he agrees, and he says that he'll make a window then. As he plops a hole out, we see another tiny window with some robot laser as Nari makes one herself too. Dao-un smiles, saying she did a good job, and that if she likes it bright they'll need some light so it's not dark at night. She asks how he could do that, and he says there's something called glowstone that emits light in the dark. He says they have to go to the nether to pick that shit up, though. Gu asks if he even knows where to find them, and Dao-un says that if you go to the volcanic region you should find some there. Gu says that it is also known by hunters as the most dangerous place, and it's also his hometown, and he seems depressed. Dao-un wonders why he's sad about going back, and Nari pushes up his cheeks, asking Dao-un what he's saying. She says that his voice sounds strange, and she thinks that he's upset. Gu says that she's way too perceptive, and Dao-un says that he's worried about them going to the volcanic region. He'll go by himself so they just need to stay here, but she's adamant on going with him. She says she's not scared of fire anymore, and she wants to go to the region with Dao-un. He says that he did not think she'd overcome her fear this quickly, asking Gu what he thinks. He says that he'll go too, as he has some things he needs to take care of over there. Dao-un says in that case they can all go together, and in return he'll make some equipment for them to use in the region. We figure out where his wig went, as the mandragoras were over there stomping it, thinking it's a monster. Inside of the volcanic region we see a monster inside of a volcano, and it's crying. The volcanic zone is one of the top 3 most avoided areas in the demon realm for hunters. The flying volcanic ash tears at your skin, and the concentrated toxic gas and demonic energy can kill you with a single breath. Gu says that's why it's a place that's almost completely unknown to the human world, but he wonders what the hell Nari is doing as she is stomping in lava. He says that he gets that it's fine for her since she's a mechanical life form, but how is Dao-un okay? And he asks what exactly he is. He says that he's a Chimera hunter. Gu says that he expected it, kind of, but they're usually not in a human form. Dao-un says he used to not be, but when he regenerated he found himself back in a human body. But what about Gu, asking if he's okay to be hanging out with him, since he's a monster he thought he'd be uncomfortable around a hunter. That is not that bad, as Nari's tweaking out about her clothes. He says that he enjoys being able to talk to someone. Dao-un tells him that's a relief, and we see her make some webs around her feet, asking Dao-un if he's talking to Gu again, and saying that she wants to do it as well. Dao-un says that he just said that he was curious about what he is. He says that Mr. is a native of the demon realm, and she is too. Gu says that he's the only native here, calling her cheeky. He says that the stones should be near where the lava spouts. Dao-un says that it must be near the crater, so they should be close. She sees smoke coming out of a hole, and says that it's the summit, and they finally made it there. Dao-un says there are tons of glow stones, but he sees a fire toad as well, and this one is crying its eyes out. Nari tells him to look over, as there's another one in front of it. It seems that the female died while they were moving, and the one carrying the eggs on its back is the female. Gu says that when fire toads lay eggs, the female carries them on her back, And that's because only the females' backs become indented during the spawning season, but since the female is dead, all of those eggs will die too. The temperature inside the crater is too high for the egg to survive. Nari starts crying, saying that it looks sad because its friend died. Dao-eun tells her to wait here for a moment, and leaps off the cliff, landing by the fire toad. Gu tells him to get back here, and the toad turns. Gu says the fire toad is in an extremely agitated state right now, so he shouldn't go near it. It starts to bulge its throat, and launches out a fire attack towards Dao-eun. He points his finger out, and taps its head, knocking it onto the ground. He says that it should just stay like this for a moment. This is the Neko cobra's paralysis poison and he only used a little, so it should wake up soon. Nari asks if he is okay, and he says that he's fine. He says that he has fire toad cells in his body, and they can't do anything about the one that's already dead, but he wants to save the one that's still alive. He ties the eggs to its back, and when it wakes up, it looks at it confused. Dao-eun says that they should be fine until they hatch. He then spots the fire toad saying its final goodbyes, and it starts to crouch down before leaping up into the air on the cliff beside Nari and them. It makes eye contact with Nari, and she looks curious as it leaps away. She says that it just looked at her, and she thinks it was thanking them, but he says it was just looking at the dead female, but he tells her that he thinks she's right, and that she should come down and get the stones so they can go home. She says okay, and starts pulling them out, talking about how pretty they are. Dao-eun tells her to be careful, and she'll hurt her foot if she drops it. She says this little stone is nothing, and she's excited about the bag. We see Gu struggling, and Dao-eun asks if he's okay. He says that he used to toss these around for fun, and if only his body had not gone smaller. Dao-eun says that he doesn't have to help him, asking why he doesn't just go run his errand, as he even brought a gift to meet his friends. Gu gets embarrassed, asking what he means by friends as monsters don't have those, and he's not planning on meeting them, and he can just leave the gift behind. Dao-eun says that he's just embarrassed to miss his own kind, and he guesses intelligent monsters really are different. Gu says that he just regrets not being able to say goodbye when he left. Dao-eun asks why he left his pack in the first place, and he says that things were good. He says that there were good things about his intelligence awakening, and he was having so much fun learning, but there were bad things too. His friends would just eat everything he was curious about. In the country of the one-eyed monkeys, he says that if he had never known the language, he would never have felt this emptiness. The two-eyed monkey is the strange one. I'm not sure what that means, but he says that's why he left his pack and has been living alone, and that they probably don't even know he's gone. They don't have much sense of kinship anyways. But he wonders why he can't pull this rock out. When he does, they hear a crack. Nari says that this is an egg, and she wonders what species it is. They see that it's cracked, and they say that it must have been hit by the stone that got dropped. Dao-eun says that the hatchling needs to break out of the egg on its own, and that's the only way for it to grow up healthy and strong. Nari asks what they're meant to do, and she says that she'd take it with them. If they leave it here, it'll become cooked. Gu says that they have no idea what'll hatch from it. Dao-eun says that he does have a place that would be perfect for a nest, and he's a bit curious about what's inside. He says it can't be helped, and to take it. She says that she'll carry it. Gu says that he's never seen an egg like this before. Dao-eun asks him who told him to drop the stone, and he says that's true, but what if Nari gets hurt because of it? Dao-eun says it'll be fine, because he'll make it so. He says that he'll trust him, and Dao-eun says that they should get back to mining the stones. Nari's excited, saying that she can't wait to go back home. When they finally get back, she's so excited. We see Kisuk there as well, and Dao-eun says that he's here early. He says that he'll carry everything if he lets him, and hands him a bag, but he warns Kisuk it'll be heavy. Kisuk laughs, saying he's strong, before he falls to the floor, asking what's in here. Dao-eun tells him to lift his face, asking why he's injured. It turns out the gift that Gu gave all of his kin was ramen, and they looked like they enjoyed it a ton. Dao-eun says he didn't realize that he was the type to get beat up, and he says that Nari beats him up all the time here, and that they must be hungry, so he'll serve the food right away. Dao-eun starts to prepare the glowstone, and Nari asks what he's making now. He says that he's cutting and shaping some glowstones, and he's gonna hang it from the ceiling, and that must look pretty nice. She says that she thinks he's really smart, as he knows so much, and he's good at explaining things, also he seems kind-hearted too, just like her dad. Dao-eun asks if her dad is doing well in the coconut tribe, and she says that he is. Gu says that the sunset feels so warm, not as much as the volcanic zone, and his body feels like it's melting. As he's laying there, the mandragoras tower over him, and together they all are in agreement. As they start some super crazy teamwork attack, they fly through the air, landing on Gu only to bounce off. He asks what's gotten into them, and Nari asks why they're all fighting. Dao-eun says it looks like they're mad at Gu for invading their territory. Ki-suk says that they've waited long enough, and sweet and sour is so addictive, it's a huge hit with the kids right now, and he made them fried tofu pockets. He says that they're easy to make, and they always look so impressive. Gu says it looks pretty decent, and Ki-suk laughs, telling them to go ahead and dig in. Dao-eun says before that, he didn't answer about what happened to his face. He explains it, saying he went to the Hunter Association to apply for the promotion exam, and ran into some A-class bastards. Dao-eun asks if they just teased him for failing, and they got into a fight, and this was the result. Ki-suk says exactly that, and they told him to stop hanging around because he's muddying the waters. They kept pushing his buttons, asking if his pride fell out along with his hair, and he just couldn't take it. Dao-eun says that he just shaved his head, so he's not completely bald. He starts lecturing him on male baldness, and Dao-eun apologizes. He then asks when the promotion exam is, and Ki-suk says that it's in the next 60 days. Dao-eun says in that case, it's time for special training. Ki-suk asks what he wants him to do, and says that he'll do anything. Dao-eun says first from now on, he's taking over dish duty from Nari. He asks why the dishes, and Dao-eun says that he needs to also go wash all the glowstone because they're filthy from the volcanic ash. Ki-suk asks why he's making him do all this, as he said it was supposed to be special training. Dao-eun says that if he doesn't want to, he can just live the rest of his life as a B-class. Dao-eun tells Nari that they're going to go fish to aid their digestion, and she says that sounds like fun. Ki-suk wants to say something more, but he stops, and he says that he must have a reason for all this. Everyone thinks he's some kind of natural-born genius, but he is a man who clawed his way up to B-class through sheer effort. A man who is nothing but a corpse without his diligence and perseverance. A man who trusts to the very end once he decides to believe. He's the man who gets up and tries a 7th time, and he's a man who has it all. He's kind, sexy, cool, and dandy. These are his words. We see them both fishing, and Nari says the fish aren't biting, and all the fish are gone, thanks to Ki-suk. He says that the fish keep biting him, and it stings, and aquatic-type monsters are the worst matchup for his attribute, and this is rough. Dao-eun says that he requires so much supervision. Dao-eun asks what he thinks his man is for, and that he just needs to put up a shield. Ki-suk says that he's been practicing, but it's not going well. Dao-eun says in that case, he pulls out a piece of glowstone and tells him to hold it. He asks why all of a sudden, and as it starts to release some demonic energy, he drops it, saying that he can't put any strength into his arms. Dao-eun warns him that some glowstones contain condensed demonic energy, and since it's an unrefined power, that's why he has to use refined mana to push it out. Before you can use his power properly, he already has plenty of mana stored in his body, and he's just a little unskilled at controlling it. Dao-eun taps both of his shoulders, and he instantly starts feeling it. Dao-eun says that he should notice the path now, and he needs to follow and channel his mana through it, then focus on trying to lift the stone again. He does so, and while it's a little challenging, he manages to lift it overhead. He says so washing the dishes and the glowstone was all part of his training for mana. Dao-eun says in that case, he should keep channeling his mana, and take care of the dishes for mana. Ki-suk says that he can count on him, as he is a man who can polish anything to a shine, and he's perfect for housework. That night, we see a bunch of the glowstone unrefined, but he actually managed to make a light, and they're all sleeping inside of the cabin. Ki-suk is drooling and I can't tell if Dao-eun is asleep or not, but Gu's holding the egg and he notices that Nari is standing up. He wonders where she's going this late at night. We see her in the river looking at her clothes, and she says they keep getting dirty, and this is the one that Mr. gave her, and it'll be okay after she cleans it. Dao-eun asks why she's doing laundry in the middle of the night, and Gu says that she's a girl, and she doesn't have any other clothes to change into. Dao-eun says he guesses it doesn't matter what he wears, but for her it's a different story, and maybe he's been too neglectful since she's a child. She steps out, saying that the laundry is done, and now it's perfect. Dao-eun says that the night air feels nice, and she asks what he's doing here. He says he's on a walk with Gu, asking if she's out for a walk too. She says that's right, and Dao-eun asks if she can stay still for a moment. He ties a little thing around her waist, and puts a flower on it, and he says that he thinks it looks cute. She gets super excited, saying that it's pretty, and it looks a lot like his now. He says that it's the flower she's named after. There's then a rustling in a bush, and she gets scared. She asks what that was, and holds on to Dao-eun. He chuckles a bit, and says that it's just a grasshopper. She says that it startled her, and then he asks if there's anything she needs, like clothes or shoes for instance. She says that he already gave her some. She likes her current clothes a lot. He says if she's okay with it, then he is too. It then takes us to District 13 near the slums, and Dao-eun says that she's talked about how she was fine, but making her wear just one set of clothes that doesn't even fit is not right. It would have been better to bring her here to choose for herself, but the human world might still be too much for her due to the trauma. But, how amusing to think he'd use a gate stone just to come back to the slums for kids' clothes. He looks around, saying that he's for sure that there was a clothing store here. Somebody tugs on his clothes, asking if he's looking for a clothing store, and saying that for just a service fee of 10,000 won, he can guide him to one, and he knows a place that's cheap and good. Dao-eun says he'll pay him when he gets change, as he does not have any small bills. The guy sighs, saying that if he's a hunter who doesn't even have that much money, he's clearly a rookie who went to the demon realm and got ripped off. He asks if he even has the money to buy clothes in the first place, telling him to follow. He normally asks for payment up front, but he looks pathetic, so he's going to make a special exception. Dao-eun thanks him, and the guy introduces himself as Oh Bong-soo. Dao-eun tells him his name and he says that he'll just call him brother instead. Dao-eun says there are tons of patrol cars around, which makes the slums feel safer. Bong-soo says that he surely hasn't been awakened for that long, and Dao-eun asks if it's that obvious. He says that he came out of a gate without any equipment, and he must have spent a fortune on gear only to have it all stolen by thugs, but he shouldn't be too discouraged. But, it's like that for everyone at the start. Dao-eun says that he knows a lot for his age. Bong-soo says that he's not a kid just because he's short, and that he is 17 years old. He also warns him that he should avoid District 13 if he can, as it's known for being really dangerous. The Space Gang, which used to be in District 11, recently expanded their territory here. The police have practically given up on it, so they never go that way. Dao-eun wonders what the Space Gang is, and if maybe the District 13 orphanage where he used to live is still there. At the clothing store, we see a woman sighing, saying that she must be crazy trying to run a clothing business in the slums. She says young couples don't have kids because they can't afford them. She wonders if she should just swap to a different business. The door opens, as Bong-soo tells the lady he's here, and he calls her a Juma. She says that she should just call her sister, because she's not even married yet. Dao-eun says this is his first time in the clothing store, as Bong-soo introduces him, saying that he's a hunter. She tells him to get over here for a second, asking if he's really going to keep bringing brokies here. She says that he's owed so much in unpaid tabs. He asks how he's meant to know if he has money or not, and she says to just look at him, asking if he really thinks he has any. Bong-soo says that he's handsome, though. Besides, she's the one who told him to bring over any pitiful hunters she sees, because they remind her of her late younger brother. She says that just once or twice, if she keeps helping kids like him, she'll end up homeless. As they keep arguing, Dao-eun says that he would like to buy some clothes. He throws them all the money he has, asking how much he can get with this. They're both surprised, as he has a check for 10 million won, and he said that this is all he had. She puts her hands together, saying that the place where he can meet her. She starts chanting praise for the place. Bong-soo turns into Barry Allen, setting up a whole table for him to sit at. He says that she sells stuff from adult clothes to children's clothes, asking if he's shopping for himself. He says that clothes for a preschool-age girl, and while he's at it, something for him too. She says that he's come to the right place, since children's clothes are their specialty. She'll let him take a look at this year's spring collection. She starts showing them to him, one after the other. Of course he doesn't know what he wants, and he just decides to buy all of them, and we see her printing out his receipt. She says that she hopes that every single day is like this, and she's completely sold out. She asks if he would like to have the clothes delivered, and he says that he'll carry them himself, and then hands Bong-soo some clothes and money. He starts carrying them. Dao-eun says he has one more favor to ask, and they head out. Bong-soo says here's the clean and decent inn he asked for, and there's a police station nearby, so it's safe, and the owner is nice too. He says to wait here for a moment, as he'll be right out. Bong-soo says something's not right. No matter how much money he has, giving a kid like him 100,000 won and buying him clothes, he heard that there are a lot of guys nowadays who lure street kids with money to kidnap them. He wonders if he should make a run for it. But, what if Dao-eun's a good person, just like Park the store owner? He says, just like he said, the owner seems nice, and is clean too. And he hands him some keys, saying that it looked like he was living on the streets. He paid a year's rent up front, so he'll be living here from now on. He paid for his meals as well, so to make sure he eats properly. He says that he'll be leaving. And Bong-soo asks if he's going to kidnap him if he goes in there. Dao-eun asks what he's talking about. He's the one who introduced him to this place. Bong-soo says that's not his goal. What does he want? Bongsu says that he just met him for the first time of the day. The finder's fee, the clothes, and now he even has a room. He's been so nice to him. Dao-eun says it just reminds him of how things used to be. And he used to live like him a long time ago. And that he will see him again. He heads back inside. And Ki-suk and Dao-eun ask where he went, as he never said anything. He said he went to get a present. She gets excited and Gu asks how many clothes he bought. Ki-suk asks if there's anything for him. And Dao-eun says of course not. Nari says that clothes are nice and they're really pretty too. Dao-eun says if she finds something she likes, she should go inside and try it on. And she says that she'll try them on immediately. Also, the egg begins to hatch. Turns out Ki-suk knew where he went, because he left him a note, as he used his clothes. Dao-eun says as soon as he got serious about folding, for some reason he found it pretty calming. Nari told him to take a look, as she really likes this dress. We see her wearing it, and she looks cute. Dao-eun asks if that's her favorite. But she says she wants to try a few more. Then she tries to put on some overalls and struggles, and then an oversized shirt which was clearly Dao-eun's, saying that she's a ghost. She continues, and Dao-eun says she's very excited. Gu says that she is pretty cute. She says that she decided on her clothes, and she says that she likes this chicken because it reminds her of Gu. Gu asks if she really thinks that looks like him, and Dao-eun says that's a good choice, asking if she wants to try folding them herself. She says that she's got it. Gu asks what he's going to do with all these other clothes, as there's no room in the house. Dao-eun says that he was thinking about that, and he's thinking of expanding the house to make a walk-in closet, and then they'll install a built-in wardrobe. Gu says that means they have to cut down more trees, and Dao-eun says not to worry, as he's got someone else to chop the wood. He asks Ki-suk if he's ready for some special training. Ki-suk appears instantly, saying that he's always down for it, and he's also taking great care of his training equipment. Dao-eun asks what he's talking about. He says that he thought this leather outfit was his training uniform. It soaked in an incredibly potent poison, and he touched it without thinking and almost died. He says this must be his unique training method to become stronger, pushing himself to the absolute limit, even in his daily life. He truly respects him, and he will follow in his footsteps and dedicate himself even more to his training. Dao-eun says that he was just too lazy to wash it properly. Dao-eun tells him that he can wear it, but says it would make a perfect training outfit. Since he's done with his training, he should go wear that and chop some wood. Gu says that he'll even pick out the trees for him. Ki-suk says that he could actually die if he wears this, asking why he needs to chop wood all of a sudden. Nari then pops out of the house, saying that there's something wrong with the egg. They're all staring at the egg, and Dao-eun says that its movements are getting more violent, and it looks like it's about to hatch. Ki-suk says that it's hopefully not a disaster grid monster, and Nari says that she's sure a cute monster will be born. Ki-suk tells her that she never knows, and she says it's impossible. Then it begins hatching fully. Ki-suk gets freaked out hiding behind Nari, but she's really excited. They see talons, and then a tail. They see sharp claws and scales, even a tongue flickering. They start to think it's a dragon. Instead, they see a cute little snake. Ki-suk asks what species this is, and Nari just says it's cute. It leaps up high into the air, and they wonder what it's doing as it lands straight on Ki-suk's face, and he starts freaking out. Sometime later, Gu hits him in the head with a branch, saying that he has to hurry since they have a mountain of work to do. Ki-suk asks why it feels like this monster's scolding him, and because of the poison he can barely breathe, and he asks how Dao-eun wore something like this around. Back to Dao-eun, he's finally finished balding some clothes, and he said it was pretty fun. Nari tells him that the monster is eating the bread, and it seems like it's pretty obedient. Dao-eun says that it must know that she's the one who saved it. They wonder what to name it, and he says that since it's part snake, they could name it Sasa. It starts slithering away, and Nari asks where it's going, and she chases after it. Gu says that the two of them are playing well together, and Dao-eun says it looks like she likes the new member of their family. More importantly, he wants to know what species that is, as he's never seen it before. Gu says he has no idea either. It's certain that it's a monster from the volcanic zone, so they'll need to keep a close eye on the mandragoras. Dao-eun asks why, and Gu tells him that most monsters from the volcanic zone consider plant-type monsters a delicacy. Since plants are scarce there, they eat any they see on sight. They especially like plants with strong, demonic energy, and it'll definitely try to dig up and eat the mandragoras. In short, it could be the mandragoras' natural enemy. They head over to the mandragoras, and Ki-suk asks what's going on, and Dao-eun says it looks like Gu's prediction was right. Nari says that she'll stop them, and Dao-eun says it would be nice if they didn't fight, but this is the demon realm, and they might need to sort out their pecking order at least once. It's still young, so it doesn't look dangerous, and they can just watch for now. It glares at one of the mandragoras and instantly goes in for an attack. It's going for the smallest one first, but the biggest one steps in and blocks the hit for it. It looks like they're forming some kind of triangle around it, and it goes in for a counterattack. The Sasa blocks the attack with its tail, and even smiles. Gu says it's too early for them to let their guard down, as the smallest one now comes in for an attack, and he rears back his little fist and hits it straight in the face. It looks like there's no damage until Sasa starts crying. Kisuk asks why, and Nari says that it's probably just shock from being hit for the first time in its life. It runs away, and she chases after trying to calm it down. Dao-un says it looks like the mandragorous won today, and Kisuk says that was actually pretty cool. Dao-un says they should go back to what they were doing, and Gu hits Kisuk on the head, telling him to get back to work. We see elsewhere over water, there's a creature flying, and it has the body of a human, but the head of a bird. We see them continuing to build their cabin and Gu is ordering Kisuk to move faster, while Nari is having fun putting the coating between the logs, as Dao-un is putting up the folded clothes. This continues until Kisuk takes off the nasty training outfit, saying that it's finally over, 2 whole days without sleep, and it has been a hellish time for him. He made it exactly as he was told, and hopes that this was right. Dao-un says he built it better than he expected. Nari says the dressing room smells like flowers. Kisuk says come to think of it, this lavender scent is very calming. Nari asks why it smells like that to begin with, and Dao-un says that Gu specifically picked out aromatic wood for it. Gu says that it'll make their clothes smell nice too, and even the mandragoras are enjoying it, as well as Sasa. Kisuk asks if he's set on that name, and Nari said it was Dao-un's idea. He says that they can change it if he has a better one, and instead Kisuk says they should name it Snake Chick. Dao-un says that he can't believe he has the nerve to talk about naming scents, and that she tries to name it pretty much the same thing as Gu. Gu says that the magnificent footprint is in the drawer. Dao-un asks if that's really the name he's suggesting, saying it sounds awful. Gu says that his real name is Rocky Mountain Hoof. Dao-un says he lost cause as well, and they'll just go with Sasa. Nari and Kisuk agree, and Gu says that now that the house extension is done he wants to know what the plan is now. Dao-un says that he thought something while visiting the human world, and at first he was alone so he didn't need to think about these things, but it's different now. He says they should build a sturdy fence around the house, that way even if he's gone nobody can just walk in. Kisuk says that he doesn't think anyone else would come here as it is, and Dao-un says he never knows. An S-class monster could show up, or hunters might come looking for something. Nari thinks he's right, and Gu suggests that it must be made from a material that is both dense with demonic energy and durable, and they should go to the coastal area. As he's heard there's a yellowish quartz that's harder than blackstone. Dao-un says they'll build the fence with that, and attach glowstones to the bottom, and it'll look great. And they'll have a nice campsite-like atmosphere at night too. He says that they'll head to the coastal area, and Nari gets excited they're going to the beach. Kisuk though has the opposite reaction. He says there's no way they don't know what kind of place that is. His nose begins bleeding. He says this is perfect timing, and then he needs to go back and vent some of this demonic energy out. Dao-un says that if they're late they'll take care of their mandrake gores when they come back. He says that even for him he'll have to be careful in the coastal area as it's a dangerous place that's practically off limits to below A class, and more importantly 2 disaster grade monsters rule that area. Dao-un asks about them. Kisuk asks if he really didn't know. They seem to be chimera hunters who escaped the laboratory a long time ago, and they have the heads of birds, but their bodies are said to have remained human. We see one appear over a cliff, and some hunters say it finally appeared, and to get the tracker ready. A guy prepares one of Krillin's spinning discs, and throws it straight towards the bird guy, getting a direct hit. It starts to fly off, and they say that it being a disaster grade was just a baseless rumor. He asks if they should pursue it, and they say no, they should wait since there are 2 of them. The guy says that after 60 years they should be dead, or maybe they've completely turned into monsters, but that wouldn't make sense since their bodies are still human. The guy says that he should see them as a kind of failure, but regardless, the creation of chimera hunters is humanity's greatest achievement, and they can't let a failure like that tarnish such an achievement, and today they will reach that. One of the guys is using binoculars, calling out to his team leader, saying that it's not actually running away, and it's flying straight towards them. He says they need to put up a barrier now, and they do so. As the chimera raises its wings it launches out wind magic that instantly destroys the barrier, cutting them. They can't believe it was shattered in a single blow, and it does a backflip before it flies back in, and they realize their judgment was mistaken. The team leader asks what they're doing, saying they need to stop it now. Nari then charges in, hitting it and telling it to stop picking on weak people. He wonders if she's also a chimera, and distances himself, and she says that she can't let a bully be. Dao-un says that she has it the other way around. As Dao-un looks, hearing the hunters talking about the mechanical creature being nearby, he says that he forgot she had a tracker, and this is getting annoying since it's going off. He says that he can't believe he'd meet this guy again, asking the bird if he remembers him as they were roommates, wondering what his number was again. He says he didn't think he'd still be alive, and it's funny how things work. The bird goes to ask if he is who he thinks he is, but the hunters say that the guy's suspicious, and they should leave him in retreat. Dao-un says if he just lets them leave it'll be a pain for them, and that they should clean this up. The bird smirks saying it was him, and this smell is something he can never forget, and only they would know because it's the smell of the research lab's chimera cell combination drug, and he says it's been a while, calling him number 17. We get a flashback to 66 years ago in the forest near the lab. They're searching for something, and we see the little bird guy running with somebody on his back. It's his sister, and she says that she's so cold. He says of all times a side effect seizure had to happen now. He wonders if this is really the right decision. Even if he dies at the hands of those lab bastards, it would have been better than to just leave her behind. He says if only he had completely turned into a bird, because with these small wings he can't do anything. But, she says that his wings are warm, and that she's fine, so to continue running. He tells her to hang in there a little longer, because once they get out of this forest there will be someone who can help them. They see number 17, and he asks why he's here. Dao-un says he heard at the lab earlier today that his side effects are so severe, and he's scheduled for disposal soon, so he came to tell him that. He says that's fitting for him as he's always helpful at the worst times. Dao-un says even if he escapes, if they don't return within 3 days the detonation spell will kill him, and it doesn't seem like his sister is scheduled for disposal yet. So it would be better to stay at the lab and get the side effects of presence, at least he'd live a day longer. He says that he wouldn't know, since he doesn't have any side effects, how it feels to live like them. His head is constantly hurting, and he's always having seizures from his side effects, and even his sister wishes that they could just live like they used to even if it was just for a day. To them it doesn't matter how long they live, but rather how they live. They just want to live freely even if it's solely for one day, and he tells Dao-un to fight him already if that's what he's here for. Dao-un stares at him, and we see a portal open up behind him. The bird asks how he got a gate stone, and tells him that if they cross over only one of two things will happen. Either their human cells will be poisoned by the demonic energy, or their mantra cells will absorb the demonic energy, and be activated. Dao-un says if he was serious about what he just said, this seems like the better option. Even if he can't overcome the demonic energy and turns into a monster, he'll be able to live completely freely, because if he crosses over to the demon realm the lab's detonation spell won't activate. The bird asks if there's a way for him to survive in there as a human. Dao-un says theoretically he would have to build up enough mana to protect his human body and mind from the demonic energy. With his current abilities it won't be easy, and he never knows what the future holds. The bird says he doesn't know why he's helping them, but he's going to take this chance and leave. The guards start to close in and he tells Dao-un that he finds it funny they've been roommates for the last 4 years, yet they don't know each other's names, and he tells Dao-un his name, which is Ubayam. Dao-un then in the present tells him his name, and then casts some kind of magic asking the guards what his name is right after. They say they don't know, and then Dao-un asks why they came here. They say they have no idea either, and Dao-un says that it worked perfectly, telling them to go into the portal and to forget everything that just happened. Ubayam wonders if he erased his memory with this too, and Dao-un says that since he has the cells of an oblivion herb in his body, about 3 hours of his memory before and after will be completely erased. Ubayam asks if it's because he doesn't have side effects that they put so many random things in him. Dao-un tells him that a lot happened after he left, and says Ubayam's name. Ubayam says that it sure is a surprise, as he didn't expect him to remember. Nari then tugs on his shirt asking if he and the bird are really friends. Dao-un says yes, and that he is from the Sparrow tribe. Ubayam wonders what he's talking about, and then questions her about the Coconut tribe, saying that he thought they were allies. She says that's correct, and Ubayam has no idea what's going on. She bows to him saying that she thought he was a bad person. Her stomach then growls, and she tells Dao-un she's hungry. Dao-un asks Ubayam where his house is, and if he has any food. Ubayam is trying to piece it together, still wondering if this might be his daughter or if it's some kind of weird role play. They head to his house, which is just a giant bird nest on the ground, and Nari says that it looks just like one in the trees. Dao-un tells him he built it well, and Ubayam says that he's not sure how it'll taste, but it's grilled clams that he made. Nari tells him they're huge, and Dao-un says it looks decent. Gu takes the first bite, and has one of those food war reactions, and Nari does as well, and so does Dao-eun. He says that it tastes even better with the red moss. Yu-beom tells him that that is just an all-purpose seasoning, and that he's glad he likes it, but to eat slowly. He then starts to have severe pains and begins shivering. Nari says that she wants more, and he says that he's out of ingredients for today, wondering what to do. She asks if she goes to catch some clams if he can make it again. He says he could, but it might be a little dangerous for a kid to catch them, and she says it'll be fine, and she'll get it done, and she thinks she needs to eat a ton to be satisfied. While she's off and about, Dao-eun gives him a quick recap, and Yu-beom says that that sure is crazy for him to revive because of his immortality cells, asking if he wants to get revenge on the laboratory. He says sometimes he thinks about it, but right now his life isn't so bad, and he's planning on taking his time to think about it. Asking Yu-beom if he's perhaps wanting revenge, Yu-beom says that he said all the spells on him disappeared when he came back to life, but he still has the Dead Nation spell on his body, and the moment they return he would explode. Dao-eun says that it seems like he can control his wings now, but wonders if his head's still not going back to normal. He says he can change it back, but he won't, and that his sister's face has changed, and if he was the only one who looked normal she would feel bad. Dao-eun says he has one more question, saying that surely he knows it too, that he has at least a month at most to live. Yu-beom says that it seems he noticed, and this brings back memories, and it was tough when he first came here. He desperately gathered mana power just to survive, and at some point he felt his mana and demonic energy strike a balance. Thanks to that he was at peace for a long time, but a while ago for some reason his sister Jia's mana hole got tangled, and her demonic energy started to run rampant. He tried to force it open and ended up damaging his own mana hole in the process. He's been managing to endure, but his sister Jia has been eating fruits and trying to sleep it all off. Dao-eun says for her to put herself in a comatose state intentionally to slow down the demonic energy sure is crazy. He says that the mandragoras will be helpful, because when your mana hole is damaged you can make a potion with mandragoras and it heals instantly, and it's a shame he didn't know. Inside of the bird nest we see a poison apple rolling as his sister Jia begins waking up. It starts with a small groan before she lets out a full-blown scream, clawing at her own arms. Back to Dao-eun and Yu-beom, he tells them they can live. Yu-beom asks if he's serious, wondering how. Dao-eun says that since he's been studying pharmacology at the lab from when he was 15, he guesses that he wouldn't know, but all he needs is to drink refined water from a manhole infused with the leftover roots of a mandragora. Of course, he already has them. And, though its leftover roots seem insignificant at first glance, they absorb demonic energy underground, and then sprout into new entities, multiplying into more. It's a source of vitality itself. Perhaps because of this refined water made from its leftover roots, it shows remarkable effects in regenerating mana holes. And he never thought that it would be of any use to him, but he's glad that he actually raised some. He says that he'll go get it for him, and Yu-beom asks if he'll get it by himself. Dao-eun says to make refined water they'll need an alchemist, and he can't go to the human realm because of the curse. Instead, while he's gone, he'll leave Gu and Nari to him. Yu-beom says once more he's in his debt. Dao-eun says the alchemist will demand payment, asking if he has anything. Yu-beom says that he doesn't have any money, but he does have some other stuff. He fills up a whole backpack, and Dao-eun asks why he has so much stuff. He says that he packed it with things that hunters left when they come here and some of his belongings. Dao-eun tells him it should be more than enough, and that he'll be on his way as he holds one of the gate stones. Back in the real world, we hear Bong-soo asking if he's really only looking for an awakened alchemist. Dao-eun says yes, and they need to be skilled. Bong-soo has now become pretty much a dedicated guide. He says last year a branch of the Alchemy Association opened in the slums, and if they go there he's bound to find something. Dao-eun spots the sandbags on his arms and wrists, asking why he's using them, and he tells him that he's building his stamina as he wants to become strong like him. Dao-eun asks why him, and he says that he's the one who walks into the demon realm with nothing but his body, so he must be incredibly powerful, or he wants to become like that too, so he will train hard. Dao-eun says he does look a little taller as well, and maybe little bro hit a growth spurt. They head to the Alchemy Association, and it looks like complete shit outside. Bong-soo tells him that not long ago a new branch manager named Kim arrived, and they say he's really skilled. His personality is nice as well. He hears some mumbling and turns, spotting him down the street, and he's talking about interest payments. Bong-soo says that it seems like they got another call from a loan shark, but Dao-eun finds it weird that they'd have to take out a loan. Bong-soo tells him that taking out loans is not unusual around here to begin with, as he originally worked at the Gold City branch for 20 years, but was demoted and transferred here not long ago, even gutting his salary. If he was demoted, Dao-eun says, he must have done something wrong, but Bong-soo says that from what he has heard back in Gold City one of the higher-ups was secretly embezzling the slum's subsidies and that his name is Director An. He's notorious for stealing subordinates' results and every other kind of wrongdoing, but when branch manager Kim reported it, he was the one who got branded as troublesome and chased out. Manager Kim begins waddling over to them, and Bong-soo calls out to him instantly, lifting his mood. He asks what brings him here, also commenting on his growth spurt. He says that this man with him is looking for an alchemist. Dao-eun says normally high-ranking alchemists aren't found around here. He also looks at the slums, and it seems like manager Kim is pretty good, and he didn't expect him to be in the slums, and Bong-soo sure is good at finding people. Bong-soo says that he needs to go finish his training, so he'll be heading out. Manager Kim tells him to take care, and asks Dao-eun if he would like to step inside. Inside of the office, one of the workers is frustrated that he has to be here in the first place, saying that at best D-rank hunters drop by to buy low-grade potions, so there's nothing he can do. There's no chance for him to even get a promotion here. Manager Kim enters the office and he instantly sits up asking if he's back so soon. His name is Assistant Manager Park and he goes to tell him to get them some drinks, but Dao-eun says he'll cut to the chase as he doesn't have time. Since Manager Kim seems to be an A+ rank alchemist, he can make refined water for mana holes using mandragora, and he'll need around 2 liters. Manager Kim says that's absurd to find mandragora here, and even more so he wants to know how he figured out his rank. He tells him straight up that he can make it, but there's no such precious materials. Dao-eun asks if this will work, and he pulls out the roots for it. Manager Kim is instantly surprised, saying this is unmistakably mandragora roots, and the freshness is like it was just harvested, as he's never seen it in such good condition before. Dao-eun tells him he'll pay for the manufacturing costs with specialties from the coastal region, and just to praise everything inside. He starts dumping out the stuff in the bag, including some of the food that Ubayam gave him. Manager Kim says that even the headquarters has never seen S-rank black pearls before, and there's 3 of them, no less. As well as Demon Realm giant clams which are still alive. He says the red moss is also a core ingredient to high-grade potions, and that this is a super rare item only recently discovered. Dao-eun says this should be enough to cover the manufacturing fee. Manager Kim tells him this is more than enough, and this is worth more than buying a whole building. Manager Park says he'll need to fetch the appraisal device from the lab, and Kim says of course high-value items like these must be appraised with proper equipment, and that they'll be right back. As they head out, Dao-eun spots something in a container saying they didn't have any mandragoras, but there's one right here. He says that one's dead, and about 10 years ago they put it in this jar so its medicinal effects are long gone. He originally had an interest in mandragora research, so he just kept it around. Dao-eun tells him it's still alive though. Manager Kim asks what he's talking about, and Dao-eun picks it up, telling him to take a look as it's reacting as soon as he feeds it mana. He had exhausted his demonic energy, barely hanging on in a coma-like state. Manager Kim tells him that's impossible as he's given it plenty of mana himself. The door then barges open and we see Director and asking if he's been well. There are 2 twins with him as well. He says that his office sure does fit somebody in the slums. Manager Kim asks what brings him here. He says he got word that some extraordinary items just came through. Kim wonders if Manager Park really just went and snitched on them, and Director N says that he has some excellent subordinates, and that they are twin ability users. He asks Dao-eun if he's the one who brought the items in, and Dao-eun says that he wants to know what he'll do if he is. The director introduces himself saying that if he comes with him to Gold City he'll see to it that he's properly treated. Dao-eun says that he was just getting along with Manager Kim, and this sure is annoying. The director continues saying that in this backwater he'll never get what he's worth, and if he signs an exclusive contract with him he'll get an advance bonus and of course tax benefits. Dao-eun asks if that fucking thing on his nose is a wart, saying it's ugly, and he says that it is. Dao-eun recognizes his last name of Gijong and asks if he's related to somebody called Bokdeok. Director and laughs saying that that's his grandfather. As he continues yapping, Dao-eun says that his genes sure are rotten. We get a flashback to when he was a kid and his grandfather in Bokdeok was torturing him and the other subjects, talking about how since they're chimeras now even their parents wouldn't love them anymore, and that he should just shove them into the demon realm and get rid of them. It turns out the wart on his nose is genetic because his grandfather had it too. This memory starts to annoy Dao-eun, and he starts to release some of his mana, causing the director to fall onto the floor. He says that he's just like his grandfather, trying to crush people with power, taking whatever he wants when greed strikes. The director asks what he's talking about, and Dao-eun says that he needs to answer this next question carefully, asking if the TDA laboratory still exists today. If you've watched till the end, comment, Snake, to let me know. Subscribe for more videos like this, leave a like or a comment to help the channel out. Thanks for watching.